It can be quite a mix of things, and I think it rotates really between three large areas. Create an account, but subsequently go on to fund your investment.
Alex is all about driving success through strategic leadership and innovative problem solving. Let's welcome Alex on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, who is the Chief of Staff of a company called Alto. Let's welcome Alex on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, where he will tell us about what he's learned along the way, what are his top advice when it comes to looking for a new job, and what he has learned along the way of being a Chief of Staff. Hi, Alex. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, Alex, how does your usual Monday look like?
It can be quite a mix of things, and I think it rotates really between three large areas. The first is executive support. So I help support our executive team, cross-functionally between our CEO, our CTO, and other folks like that. And what that may look like is structuring agendas, running our weekly leadership team meeting, handling interactions with the board, and preparing materials like that. Those are all components that sort of fall under that area, which is probably a third of my time.
Oh,
Another third is day-to-day operations. So if we have a department that a leader has left and the company needs someone to step in and run that function, or drive a project through to execution, I can handle the day-to-day project management of that, or week to week or month to month, depending on how large the project or function is. And then the last component really surrounds special projects. So this could be things like we are considering redoing our pricing model, or we are considering some other kind of potential strategic initiative. And I'm sort of the go-to person to kick that off, develop a plan for how to tackle it, and then a cross-functional way to actually go about implementation once whatever strategic decision has been arrived to. So it's typically a third, a third, a third between those three large categories, and the day can weigh to one or another based on what's going on at a specific time.
okay. All three very important core functions. But according to you, Alex, what's your favorite part of your current position? Like, what do you enjoy doing the most? Is it supporting people? Is it supporting the executive team? Is it analyzing and taking in place of people who might be off on holiday? So, what exactly is something that gets you out of bed and you're like, okay, this is something that I'm really enjoying?
Yeah, I think the most interesting component for me is actual cross-functional execution and company management, right? So I think what's really attractive about the chief of staff role is it's a bit of a training grounds to hopefully go on to be a founder and CEO. And I think the opportunity is large to really just understand how to drive strategic direction, lay out a strategy or roll it out to the company to ensure that everybody is rowing in the same direction. And again, based on the areas that I mentioned, that can take different forms on the day to day, right? It can be a special project, it can be managing the cross functional delivery of a big initiative or a function. It can be supporting the executive team, but really what I think it is making sure that the organization is rowing in the same direction, and sort of I don't know, singing as an ensemble, right? And I think that's the most interesting part of the job, which is understanding what it takes to manage a slightly larger organization.
I think you touched upon something important, which is it's a good pathway to becoming a founder or a CEO of a company of your own. But also, you were to get to wear multiple hats, work across different multiple organizations within the company. So you really are getting expertise in different elements of within the organization. So thank you for sharing that, Alex. Alex, I think my next question for you would be is we touched upon your role, but I'd love to understand more about your company, what it does, so that people who are listening who might be looking for a new job know what your company specifically stands for.
Yeah, so Alto, which is short for Alto IRA, is a self-directed IRA platform that allows people to invest their retirement accounts into alternative assets. So these are non-public securities or instruments. We're talking about things like real estate, private equity, hedge funds, cryptocurrency. And so we provide really a end-to-end tech experience that enables customers to come to the platform, create an IRA, fund the IRA, and then subsequently invest it in a myriad of opportunities. So that may look like a turnkey crypto product where people can buy and trade cryptocurrencies. It can mean investing through some of our partner platforms that we have integrations with to access securitized art or fine wine or real estate or startups or any other of those things. And it can also mean folks bringing their own deals to the table, meaning you have a friend who's raising a new fund or building a new company, and you'd like to invest in them with your retirement account because of the tax benefits. We enable you to do that. And I think it comes into a broader wave or trend that I think we're seeing in the market, which is the democratization of alternative assets, right, and private securities. Since 2020, you're seeing a real push from the retail market to gain access to assets that can help mitigate risk better because they're less correlated with public markets. So they provide a hedge in your portfolio and also potentially increase the return potential by providing an outsized return, right? All of these things are hypothetical, and of course you're investing at your own discretion, but those things are really attainable, and we're really trying to add or contribute to this idea of alternatives for all.
Okay, no, I think that's very interesting specifically because, like you mentioned, people are wanting to expand and diversify their portfolio, which is something that is very important, specifically these days. I think my next question for you would be: Is there are a lot of companies, Alex, that specifically do these things? What makes Alto different?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, we're really, from my perspective and vantage point, having looked at the market, the most tech-driven solution out there, right? We're the most automated. I think we move the fastest in terms of getting a customer from creating an account all the way through the funnel to having it funded and then invested. And I think it just leads to a really great client experience. And previously, when we've talked to customers and why our CEO built the business, was the experience was extremely manual and paper heavy. It was extremely costly and just ineffective. And it was very bureaucratic. I mean, it was a lot of back and forth, and it took a lot of time to actually create an account, but subsequently go on to fund your investment. And I think that provides or produces quite a few challenges when you're dealing with alternatives, because some of these instruments or vehicles have funding deadlines that need to be met. And you have a chance of missing your funding deadline if things take too long or things are still in process. And the feedback that we've heard from customers on both sides of our marketplace, the investor side and then also the folks raising capital, so the funds, the issuers, the startups, the entrepreneurs themselves, is it's a very easy process. We've streamlined it so that it's fully automated. There isn't a paper-intensive process. It's not bureaucratic. It's quick. And so I think, just an elevated customer experience driven through technology is really what I think sets us apart.
No, I think that's super important because I know a lot of people who usually start and open their account, but because the process is so tedious, there's so much involved, they don't even go ahead and finish their profile. So kudos to you for coming up with a process that is extremely streamlined. You can move the customer along the pipeline really fast for them to get funding, and then that is why people would end up choosing you. So thank you so much for sharing that, Alex. Last two questions, Alex. You've had experience as a business lead, but also as a director of product strategy. How have those experiences shaped you for your current position, which is the chief of staff?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and they're somewhat related but slightly different. And so here's kind of the way I've think about it and the evolution of the role, which is I started my career in product management. So actually working day to day with engineers on trying to, one, craft a product strategy when the company was much smaller and younger. Two, right, designing wireframes and then eventually leading the technical documentation and shipping, the product and testing it. Right, and then getting it in the customer's hands. And I think where product strategy lands as the company grew was how do we want to think about our broader management of our product and the evolution of that product over time, and where can we go to untap more growth potential and things like that. So product strategy was really focused on the product initiatives we wanted to continue to engage to expand our product suite and deliver more value to customers and as a result to the business. I think where the business lead side was an evolution and a slight change is that dip more into general management. And I think as a company gets larger, what you start to realize is the product strategy is no longer the company strategy. The company is much more than just the product. And you learn more about how to build a sales strategy, right? Outbound, inbound, or self service from bottom up, how to drive marketing campaigns. So it becomes much more than just how do we position the product, but also how do we handle distribution and get this into customers' hands and managing a broader suite of stakeholders, right? So as opposed to really being product specific, you're now managing a more cross functional group that includes marketing, sales, as well as the product and technology organizations. And so I think how that is tied to the chief of staff role is, I mentioned at the beginning of the call where I spend 2/3 of my time is between one, day-to-day operations, and two, special projects. And when you're thinking about those two pieces, a lot of the activities that a chief of staff engages is cross-functional execution. And it could be a single function, whether it be sales, marketing, product, or something else, or it could be a product or a project launch that involves multiple different stakeholders. And so I think the experience in both, right, product management and strategy, as well as more general management, which involves those different components, prepares you well for the day-to-day activities and like project management style work that a chief of staff has to engage.
I think you said something very important. That is, once a company grows bigger, the product strategy is no longer the company strategy, because at the end of the day, your product can't define what your company is. Your company would be based on a vision, a purpose, values, and how you bring that product in distribution. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I think some people combine both, and eventually it causes a lot of chaos within the company. So it seems like you have the concept accurately nailed down. So thank you so much for sharing that, Alex. Last question, Alex. Your company is growing. I'd love to see if there are any open positions that you're actively hiring for, and what people are more likely to thrive if they do apply for a position within your company.
Yeah, I mean, we're hiring for a variety of roles. I think there are openings in product design. There are quite a few openings in our engineering department, and a variety of other roles. Folks can actually head to the website altoira.com, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the website, there's a careers page where where folks can look into open roles. But we have a variety of roles that are open at the moment, and quite a few are concentrated in the engineering and product development organization. Um, my perspective on the job search, having gone through it during COVID, which was also a challenging time where a lot of layoffs were occurring and being engaged, is if people are looking and interested in joining a startup, my advice is to think like a founder. And what I mean by that is to identify areas or problems that you see in the macroeconomic environment more broadly, and then think independently what you believe the solution to be. And in thinking that way, you can actually start tailoring your search to hopefully find companies that meet those criteria, right? I know this is a problem that I believe in, and this is what I believe the desired and right solution is. And if you find a company that matches that, you've accomplished two things, right? First, you've aligned your own interest and your beliefs to the company that you're targeting. And the second is you're coming in with a lot of a huge advantage in preparation going into interviews or the actual process of getting hired itself, right? Because you've gone out of your way to think about this. You have a really ground understanding of the problem and solution. And I've been amazed at just how much of an edge that can give candidates going through the interview process, which is to really understand the problem space, the industry, and what they believe the right solution to be really well. That alignment with a company, particularly in earlier stages, really sets you apart from other candidates.
Yeah, well, I think that was amazing advice, thinking like a founder, because at the end of the day, a lot of candidates do go ahead, do some research on potential companies that they're interested in. But when it comes to actually solutions, there's always room for improvement in every single company. So if you're going ahead and doing the research regarding what kind of solution could further improve the company, what kind of solution could further acquire more customers. So I think going in with that approach, it does give you a leadership approach, which a lot of recruiters, hiring managers like. So thank you so much for sharing that, Alex. But Alex, other than that, our time is up. It was a pleasure learning about you, how you paved your way from a business product lead and up to the chief of staff, how you're working with a company that is growing, but also your approach on hiring, the way you look at candidates and what they can do to increase their chances of getting their desired job. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for your time as well.